Then we have the mimer. Okay, we learned the Rebbe. The Rebbe actually did we do part of race test? I think we did part of race test. We'll start beginning of race
Yeah,
test.
we were like 6 lines down.
Yeah, so we'll yeah, right, taka, because we had done milamayla lamato, and then we have to do
We left the
milamayla lamayla.
parentheses.
Right, but let's start from the beginning again, and we'll do milamayla lamata. The Rebbe is explaining al pi tam badas al pi seichel. Why is it that the gilu yechida brings about a shalom where both levels of shalom contain within them the milas of each? In other words, the bittul milamayla lamata and the internalization of milamata lamayla. How can that be? V'zeh, let's just see. We saw the first half of it. Milamayla lamata. We'll do it again because it was a long time. V'zeh poda besholom nafshi mikrav li ki berabim hayu imodi. The hashalom shehabirur, the shalom of the birur shal yedei avedi berabim hayu imodi. The shalom that comes as a result of the birur of the aveda of berabim hayu imodi, which is his eres yechida, hu b'shleimus. And when shleimus we mean it's milamayla lamata umilamata lamayla, and contains within it the advantages of both. Shekelel shtei hamaylas, that it includes both advantages, the advantage of the bittul from above and the internalization from below. Ki al yedei avodah, and this is the part we did. We did milamayla lamata. Ki al yedei avodah berabim hayu imodi, his erus yechido, the arousal of the yechido. And remember, it must be said every time that you say that in this mimer, when we say arousal of yechida, we mean simply the ability to be conscious of the fact that I have a yechida shebenefesh and make the hachlata to act in accordance with that yechida. It's not a gilu of yechida ad kedei kach that a person is holding in a place of einoid movadei consciously. Misgala shenitzutzeitz, the sparks of holiness shenimtzaim begolus, Rishus Harabim, that are found in the Rishus Harabim, right? The Ture de Pruda, the mountains of separation, meaning the place where God's unity is hidden, Eilam Hazeh, as opposed to what's called, this the Rabbi didn't mention it, Rishus HaYochid. Rishus HaYochid is that domain where God's oneness is revealed, right? Hayui Modi, Shenimsam Begolus Berishus Harabim Hayui Modi, Harotzen Vachuka Shalem Lizbarer. They want to be elevated. Therefore, also the rectification that's brought about milamayla lamata, meaning from a revelation of a gili or milamayla, a revelation of a light from above, which usually brings about a state of bittul, but does not truly affect the state of below. It just temporarily nullifies the existence of the state below. Yeah. Right, that's what we've been saying about a gilui, and that will be what in everyday life we call that inspiration. Right, so the inspiration will bring about a state where temporarily I'm not interested in the taivas that I might have had before, but they're going to come back. It didn't bring about a change. It's mevatel the reality below, but it hasn't changed it. So when it comes back, chayzer v'nir, it returns and wakes up. It's exactly as it was before. Right. Okay, the cigarette smoker with tremendous inspiration to stop smoking cigarettes at that moment has no taiva for a cigarette whatsoever. None. He finds it, never smoking again. What's going to happen in an hour? Nothing changed. Right, the change has to come from below. No, but we're saying when it's a gilu yechida, even the revelation from above will bring about a change from below. How? Because the below wants to be changed, and so when it experiences this level of elokus, it changes. There is something like hamayla, the advantage, when the birur is from the work from below. Why? This birur is such that hatachten reitzel. That's what the Rabbi taught us in Ches, that the spark wants to be elevated. So when it's connected, it's unbelievable. When a person reaches a state that's beyond above and below, they reveal the true reality of the true nature of whatever reality they're encountering. The true nature of that reality is it wants to be connected to its source in elokus. So it's connected, but on a deeper level than simply using it positively, because of the person's conscious understanding. Just absolutely astounding. Ki gam biruch zeh hu shatachten reitzel lizbader, wants to be elevated. Elo shabiru b'feil, what's actually happening in the conscious reality of this person? Hu al yedei gilui shelamayla v'mina. It's through a gilui, through some either learning Torah in terms of avodah or the inspiration that we talked about. Aval derech zeh leidach. So too, on the other hand, the avodah from below will contain within it the advantage of the avodah from below, of the revelation from above, which is the bittul of it all. Why? Shagam habidur shebederech milamata, this is what we did not see. Shagam habidur shebederech milamata lamayla. Also, the bidur from below above, who ba'ofen will be in such a way shemisbatel hanisnagdu shalatachton. Not only will the tachtun act in accordance with proper, healthy behavior, it will be transformed into a reality that wants to be connected to Elokus, the bittul of the tachtin, the zesh and his bar le'il, that which we said earlier in Sif Hey. Shagam la'achra yabir da tachtin. This is what usually happens when the avodah is from below, and that avodah from below means the hisalavshus of the seichel of the nefesh elokis and the seichel of the nefesh bahamis, trying to convince. Educate. It's not convince in a negative way. Educate the nefesh bahamis that elokus is good. Sit and learn things, learn chassidus, which changes my conscious reality. Okay, but there's certainly snagdos against that, right? There's certain opposition. So when things happen that seem to contradict the reality that I encountered in the Sefer, I might be challenged by that, right? Things happen in the world that seem to be very hard to explain. So if my only connection is al pi seichel, my connection is going to be challenged very powerfully by that event in Olam Hazeh, whatever it happens to be, right? Or the idea that someone might have thrown my way. If there's also a connection milamaila, the gilu or milamaila, so then it'll be less problematic, right? Because there's a level of bittul. And that's why we need both, right? But if the person's only on the level of milamata lamaila, so there's the word the Rabbi used in the Maimon, the Nefesh Bahamis says maskim. It agrees with the position of the Nefesh Elokis, but hasn't changed yet. It's not bottle. But if it's all done in the realm, if it's all done with this koyach of the gilui of Yechidah Shebenefesh, meaning the person is sitting and learning an idea with the understanding that in the context of learning this idea, not only are they intellectually affecting the Nefesh Bahamis, but they're connecting to the Nefesh Bahamis to their essential being, which is godly. They're doing both. There's the hislavshus of it, there's the avodah from below, but the avodah from below is done within the context of the appreciation of the fact that really, who's sitting and learning this Torah? Yechidah Shebenefesh, because that's who I really am. Then what? It affects the below completely differently. Shagam la'achrei abirur detachton birur b'derech milamata lamayla nishar adayin. It still remains behelam in a hidden way. Snagdu shaloi. Its opposition to Elokus, the Nefesh Bahamis. Who mipnei shabirur detachton in Inyan, because why does that happen in that sense? Because the birur of the tachton, the education of the seichel of the Nefesh Bahamis, who inyan sheniz vasef bay, it's something that's added to it. It's not changing the nature of it. It's just something that is somehow put upon it. By virtue of that which is rectifying it, that's clothed in it, the intellect of the Nefesh Elokis, which is still hepech hateva de tachton. That's still the opposite of the nature of the tachton. The nature of my tachton hasn't changed. The nature of the tachton still wants to sit on the beach and drink beer. But it understands that that's not healthy behavior, and it's not going to do that, right? And it doesn't even have to be so gross. Even in Gashmias, right?
A martini.
Okay. I don't think people drink martinis on the beach. I think they drink cold beer out there. I don't know. I drink neither. So the mashal in Gashmis, someone obviously it's not going to include Yechidus Benefesh in terms of the negative side of it. Someone who has disciplined themselves and they just lost 30 pounds, but they haven't changed their relationship to food. They've just imposed this incredible discipline upon themselves. So what's going to happen? They're just going to put it heavy, right? Soon, right? Why? Because what they did is impressive. It's much impressive, but it didn't bring about a change in them, right? What has to happen? The person has to change their relationship to food. Okay, so that's mamish opinionistic avoda. So now, changing my relationship to physical reality in general. That's what the Rebbe is talking about. Okay, so I can change my relationship to the extent that I no longer allow my behavior to be dictated to by this physical reality. But that doesn't mean that that's still not my nature. I just overcome that constantly. I'm involved in a battle all the time. And I might win every battle. That's not a problem. But I haven't won the war.
Right.
Right? Okay. And now, by definition, just so it's important to know, and I'm in a room of adults so I can talk about it, although I don't know about YouTube, there are certain taivas and certain connections to Elam Hazeh that a person is not supposed to lose. I mean, most of us, tzaddikim, it's a whole different world, but most of us do not lose our enjoyment of food. But that's important because we have to eat to stay alive. We have to have some connection to food. Can't completely lose our connection to food. A cigarette smoker can lose his connection to cigarettes and never touch a cigarette. That's healthy. That's good. You can't lose your connection to food. You don't want to eat. That's not healthy. Right? And of course, also marital relations is something that a person is going to maintain a taiva for. Why? Well, because he has an obligation to have babies, right? So if he completely lose that taiva, so then that would be a very difficult thing to accomplish. So that's a taiva shaykhis to Elam Hazeh that a person isn't going to completely and totally nullify. It can be channeled. The whole idea is to channel it, but there are certain taivas that other nullify them completely. Right? Taiva for food is one thing, but what about certain types of food? That taiva you can completely do away with. If you work at, the unhealthy food.
Right.
Right? So we haven't in the Aveda from below. There's not a complete transformation of the nature of the Tachten. Like the Nefesh Abahamis, naturally it's drawn to physical things. And it's love, the notion of love for the Eibishter, that can be brought about in the Nefesh Abahamis. Nefesh Abahamis is challenged to come to a point of with both your Nefesh Abahamis and your Nefesh Elokis and your Nefesh Abahamis. Shenase es al yedei nefesh elokis, and how does that come? How does that happen? Through the hislavshus of the nefesh elokis and the nefesh abahamis, right? Contemplating godly things that the nefesh abahamis can understand. We saw that earlier in the Maimer. It's also Basi Legani Tafshin Yud, the Frierdiker Rebbe's Basi Legani that we learn every year. Shenase etz al yedei nefesh elokis and hislavishba. That's brought about through the nefesh elokis that's clothed in it and changing its appreciation of reality, but not changing its nature. So therefore, that aval elokus is still uhepach tiva. So the opposite of its nature. The nature of Nefesh Abahamis is just to want what I understand, rightfully or wrong. Yeah, ultimately, it could be very extremely wrong, and often is extremely wrong. But what I understand is good for me. Now, obviously, I have to develop a more sophisticated appreciation of what's good for me. That's part of the Islam. That's what we said earlier. It was part of the Islamshus of the Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Abahamis. The first step is being misbeinin in a way that the Nefesh Elokis is telling the Nefesh Abahamis, this is good for you. Not that this is good, neto. Right? The first level that the Nefesh Abahamis comes, the first level of appreciation the Nefesh Abahamis comes to is zetov li. Good for me. What? Shabbos, kashrus, good for me. It can come to the point where it says zetov. This is good. That's going to be a more sophisticated Isbainus, which is really what most of Chassidus talks about. Most of Chassidus is not talking about the fact that it's good for you. It's talking about it's good. Talmudu ki tov avayim, right? Taste and see is the Eibishter is good.
So can I clarify something? We have three different types of situations going on here. We have the from lamata lamaila, which you're saying is the avoda. It's a panemius. You work on yourself and you can change.
So usually through seichel.
And what?
Seichel.
And
Convincing my nefesh habayim to learning Torah, so my nefesh habayim appreciates. Oh, this is good.
Convince yourself. So you convince yourself healthy food is better than garbage food. So therefore, you have lamaila lamata, which is an inspirational thing. That the problem is it doesn't change the mata, it doesn't change the nefesh Bahamas, it just inspires it for some period of time until it wears off. Then we have the third level.
Let me just add one. So therefore, in terms of the avodah of it, in that moment of inspiration, what should I do? Do the avodah milamata lamaila to bring about the change. If I don't do that, then the whole thing is for fault.
So you immediately have to connect it with Poda, lamata. And then you have somehow tapping into the Chiddush B'Nefesh, which can overpower, it changes, it has...
He explained to me Lamaila Lamata. That was based on the fact that the Lamata wants to be elevated. It's which meaning everything we just said about the teva of it. Okay, that is the teva of it. That's the revealed teva, but not its essential teva. Its essential teva is it wants to be elevated.
Now,
wants elikus.
Did I miss how we tap into that, or did we not get there yet?
How we tap into the Gilu Yechida? Well, the Rebbe, what the Rebbe said to us in Ois Gimel, which was the Chiddush, and we keep repeating it the whole way through, because every time we say Gilu Yechida in this Maimer, we're not talking about Rav Mendel being Meiser Nefesh. We're not talking about that, because that's not shaykh to you and me. I'm not Rav Mendel. Okay, Beseder, I'm not Rav Mendel because it's my fault I'm not Rav Mendel. I'm not the Lubavitcher Rebbe because I can't be the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's not shaykh. I could theoretically, if I did everything that I'm supposed to do, be a chassid like Rav Mendel. Okay, but I'm not. And the Rebbe knows who he's talking to. But by being conscious of the Rebbe, the language of the Rebbe is to be misbeinen in the fact that you have a Chiddush B'Nefesh. There is such a place in you where you are essentially connected to the Eibishter. And then to make the hachlota, to act in accordance with that, that's the Gilu Yechida the Rebbe is talking about here. So in other words, a person sits down and learns Torah. And before he learns Torah, not only does he think about the fifth parak of Tanya, how amazing the connection to God that he gets through this, which is milamata lamaila, I am being connected to him, right?
Yeah.
He also contemplates the fact that mitzad the etzav of my being, this is really who I am and what I want to do, and I'm simply expressing that through the action of learning Torah. That's different. That's not the same as the fifth parak in Tanya.
Right.
The fifth parak in Tanya is telling me, not in a grub way, but I mean, it looks grub relative to but not just this is the best way to connect to the Eibishter. Oh, sounds good to me. Okay, that's good for me. I like that. Whoa, that's an amazing step to get my Nefesh Bahamis to think that it's a good idea to connect to the Eibishter. Wow, my Nefesh Bahamis wants to sit and eat Cheetos. Right? Like what? Never connected. Never should never the Eibishter. And it might very well be that the person sitting there learning Gemara with his corn chips. Right? There's a story of the Friedrich Rebbe walked by two Chassidim learning Chassidus before davening. They each had a cup of tea. And they're learning Chassidus. One of them took a sip of the tea, and the Friedrich Rebbe heard, ah. So the Rebbe turned around and asked him, was the ah from the tea or the Chassidus? It's okay. The tea can be an ah, right? Ah, right?
Yeah.
If the cup of coffee you make first in the, some cups of coffee are better than others. That one is just perfect. The first sip in the morning, that's a good cup of coffee. Okay. Do I say the same thing when I open up a Maimer Chassidus? Go, wow, that's a good line. That's amazing. Okay. Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes, not good. Okay. Now, is that coming mitzad just the fact that my Nefesh Bahamis is dormant at that moment, or has my Nefesh Bahamis actually reached a point where it wants to connect? Mitzad, it's teva, because that's what its teva really is.
So for that, you would need to see what happens after you put that mimer down.
Yeah, well, Gilu, but there's also Gilu. Okay, you're 100%. That's for sure, right? But there's also the Gilu Yechida. I mean, how do you bring that about the Gilu Yechida? Because the amazing thing the Rebbe said is that the Lamata wants to be elevated.
That's amazing.
It is an unbelievable, and by virtue of connecting to absolute truth, you reveal the absolute truth in everything. Even that thing you're encountering in Elam Hazeh, which is really just astounding.
Okay.
The absolute truth of who we are. Umizeh muvan, yeah? 4 lines up. Umizeh muvan. The kishatachteinu ba'ofen she'oid lifnei, when the tachten is in a way that oid lifnei slavshus shalom boy, before these slavshus of the mavar in it. In other words, before it's sitting and encountering the idea that the nefesh elokis is trying to get it to appreciate. Avodas habidur, who roitzo mishtakek begilu lizbarer. He's really desiring to be elevated, because that's the true panimis of the nefesh bahamis. The nefesh bahamis wants to lose to the nefesh elokis. That's its true desire. The mashal that we brought from the Zohar that the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya. The Zoyna is trying to seduce the prince, but she wants the prince to overcome her seduction. She loves the prince. She doesn't want the prince to fall into her shtus, but she has to do her job as that's the mashal the Alter Rebbe brings. She has to do her job as best she can, but she's rooting for the prince. Where do we see that in our story? Anshe of Sholem. The Anshe of Sholem, what are they doing? They're davening for David HaMelech. They're fighting David HaMelech, but they're davening for David HaMelech at the same time. They want David HaMelech to win. Even though they have to do everything they can in terms of their contract with Avshalom to do what Avshalom wants from them. Who writes in Mishtakek Begilu Lizbarer, Azai, Habiter Einer Davar Neisef Alav. Then the beater now is not something that's simply in addition to it. It's been imposed upon it. Right? The nefesh habahamis wants shtus, but I impose upon it to be connected to elokus. Still want shtus. Just now, and every now and then when it's involved in the elokus, it enjoys it. It might enjoy it a lot, right? And not just now and then. Okay, but it's still an imposition. Because mitzad its teva, it can still get into whatever grubkeit it likes. Okay, fine. No. Now it's not a davar noisef. It's not something being imposed on it. It's nefesh habahamis is completely transformed into what it truly is. Because what is it? It's also elokus. Umikol shekain she'eina hepech tivai. Right? It's not the opposite of its nature. Lochein a bidur shaloi. It's bidur. Gam a bidur shebederach hislavshus. Even the bidur that comes through hislavshus. Milamata lamaydu hu al derech ha'inyan dis hafcha. It's no longer hiskafia. It's now hiskafia. Because remember, we said that we had a higher understanding of hiskafia. Hiskafia was my nefesh habahamis wants elokus. Okay, but that's still a davar noisef. It's not the nature of the nefesh elokis. Nefesh habahamis to want elokus. But right now, it's been convinced that elokus is the right thing to do, and it wants that. That the Rebbe said was hiskafia. This is the higher level of hiskafia. Remember, we said the general way in which we think about hiskafia is my lave wants one thing, my mayach wants something else, meaning subjectively I'm connected to a state of reality that's not healthy. Objectively, I understand there's something healthy and I have to stay connected to that. And my objective understanding overcomes my subjective desire. That's called hiskafia. Okay, but that means that my lave didn't change. So that's not meich sholit ala leiv. That's not that my brain is controlling my heart. My brain is controlling my action. My heart is still into the shtus. Right? Okay. And what's hiskafia? Hiskafia is transforming my heart. So now my heart wants it. I'm emotionally connected to it. Okay. That's what we usually say. In this Maimon, the Rabbi took us to a whole new level based on the Rebbe Rashad. Right? No. There's a whole new understanding of hiskafia. Hiskafia is the battle to transform my nefesh habahamis to want elokus. But my nefesh habahamis, my lave wants elokus, but it was a battle, and that's the hiskafia. It wasn't besholom. And the besholom is the hafcha, is the transformation of it into something that wants elokus in a peaceful way, and that's the gilui milamayla. Well, now the Rebbe is saying that even through the avodah from below, I can bring about these hafcha. It's not a battle. Why? Because I'm battling from a point of yichidush and benefesh.
So his hafcha is moach shoas al halev. That's what it is.
Well, now even Iskafia can be Merech Shalot Al Leiv. We said Iskafia.
As long as the Yechidah Shabbat is involved.
Oh, no. Even the rabbis generally will say as follows. Iskafia, generally. Iskafia is not a Merech Shalot Al Leiv, Merech Shalot Al Maisa. In our Maimer, the rabbi is saying, no. Iskafia is Hameich Shalot Al Halev, that my lave comes to the conclusion. This is the avodah of Mimata L'mayla. My lave comes to the conclusion that Elokus is good and wants Elokus, but it's still not its nature, so it's a battle, and that's the Iskafia. But other my nefesh wants Elokus, meaning my nefesh is maskim to my nefesh bahamis is maskim to my nefesh Elokis. So that's mamish ma'ir shalot al leiv. The leiv has now changed. But it hasn't changed mitzad its teva, it's changed mitzad its decision in terms of what it wants to do. It's going to eat healthy food and not unhealthy food. Still has a tiger for unhealthy food, but it's going to eat healthy food. Okay.
That's interesting.
And then there's this level. That if there's an involvement of Yechidah Shebenefesh, and even the avodah from below is Yisrael, where the Nefesh Abayim is completely transformed. That's ultimately where the Rebbe wants us to go. But we've talked about this a number of times in the Maimer. This Maimer is so unbelievably our Rebbe. Our Rebbe's whole inyan and avodah is it shouldn't be a effect. All you're doing is expressing who you really are. Just connect to who you really are, and then it just flows. Tells us there's a word in Hebrew, a great word, zoreim. You're zoreim. Just goes. Watch the Rebbe daven.
So Skafia is above no.
Well, there's an Iskafia that isn't. There's this in this context. We're talking about Iskafia that is. There's two different ways of understanding Iskafia and Iskafia. The way it's usually understood and the way the Rebbe describes it in this Maimer based on the Rebbe Rishon. Right? So that means now, anytime you see Iskafia, you have to wonder, am I talking about Me'ech Shalot Al Leiv, which is a higher level, or am I talking about a Me'ech Shalot Al Maisa, which is usually how we talk about Iskafia. I don't want to do it. My lave's not into it, but I do it anyway. Why? Because it's right. I have to do it. It's the right thing to do. That's Me'ech Shalot Al Maisa, not Al Leiv.
Very good distinction. Okay. Right.
This is like the home address of that. Okay, so let's finish the Maimer. V'hinei, Yedua. And usually the end of a Maimer is a little quicker than the whole body of the Maimer. V'hinei, Yedua. The klolos inyan Aveda hu liyach the kucha brichu shchinte. Basic Aveda is to bring about a unity of kucha brichu, which is Sevev, infinite godly light, or shchinto, which is Malchus, imminent godly light, or Bamale. We talked about this earlier. V'hu inyan yichud Sevev Mamale. Right? Just look at that. Ki kucha brichu b'china Sevev kol. Kucha brichu is just Elokus, infinite godly light. U'shchintahu b'chinas Mamale kol. That aspect of godliness that is responsible for and revealed in created reality. V'zeu, and now we're back to Yaakov. V'zeu shama Yaakov v'shavti besholom el beis avi. What happens? Right? V'shavti beis avi, I will return in peace to the house of my father. Baruch Shem, he does. Hachzaras nitzutzeis l'mekadam. What's he talking about in Pnimius? We said that was about elevating the nitzutzeis of kedusha. Yaakov is about to go into Lavan, and he's going to elevate that reality of Lavan. And Lavan, interestingly enough, it wasn't in this mimer, but in other Maimarim and even in Sichas, in Likutei Sichas, from the whole story of Lavan. The question is asked: Why did Lavan chase after Yaakov? When Yaakov left, what's Lavan chasing after Yaakov for? Oh, so the Zohar says, and the Rebbe brings this. The Zohar says that Lavan he had to give to Yaakov the oisius hatara that he forgot in Haran. Lavan is giving to Yaakov oisius of Torah that he wasn't. Now, what does that mean? That means he's getting something from Lavan that's being elevated to kedusha that he himself couldn't elevate. Lavan had to give it to him. Oh, so why could Lavan give it to him? Because what's the source of Lavan? Lavan in kedusha is loivena elyon, is the highest level of our Ein Sof. That's Lovin and Kedusha. That descended down into the lowest level of Klippa. Okay, but it's source and Kedusha is the highest level of our Ein Sof. So Lovin is after the one who can elevate that level of reality. Without that Gilui from above, Yaakov can't do the Avodah. Similar to what we're learning here, right? That without the Gilui from above, then my Avodah from below is going to be limited. So that's the Gilui Milamayla. That's what we learn from Lavan chasing after Yaakov and giving him something, right? Now, it doesn't say in the simple shot in the Torah that he gave him anything other than little tsars. But Yaakov says, "V'shav v'shalom ha'beis v'haya vaya lila elokim, havaya elokim yichud seviv v'mamalek shal yedei avedus habirurim, through the avedus habirurim, which is shavti b'shalom ha'beis avi, right? I will return to the house of my father, which is what in kedusha hachzarat hanitzutzeit lemekara, right? The chazar is bringing the sparks back to their source. Yaakov himself is in Pshat, Yaakov is talking about himself. In Pnimis, Yaakov is talking about elevating the state of reality in love, and that has to be elevated. The Ikar Aveda should be Shvilah, the essential Aveda that for this purpose, Yarda Neshama Lamata, the Neshama descends below, which of course is the whole story of Yaakov descending into Lavan, into Haran. He, Aveda Sabirurim. The whole Aveda is Aveda Sabirurim. Elevating the world so the world becomes the place where Elokus can be revealed. And interesting enough, the Rabbi told us very, very clearly in Tafshin Nun Aleph and Tafshin Nun Beis, said it over and over again, that Avodas Habirurim has been completed. That's been done. The world is in the state it needs to be in order for Mashiach to come. That doesn't mean that you and I are in a state of birur. You and I have a personal state of Avodas Habirurim. But the Rebbe says in Parshas Nech, Tafshin and Beis, it's an unbelievable chiddush, that our Avodas Habirurim, personally, mitzad my own Avodah, that I'm clearly not who I should be and I should work on myself to become closer and closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that ultimately does not affect the coming of Mashiach. Mashiach's ready to come. Just an unbelievable chiddush. So then what's the Avodah bringing Mashiach? That's Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Zikena. That's accepting Mashiach. That's not the Avodas Habirurim. Avodas Habirurim has already been done. Now there's a new Avodah, Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Zikena. However that's understood. And there's a machlekes in Lubavitch what that means. We're not going there. Right? Okay, say it. But there's a legitimate machlekes. Right? Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Zikena. We're also just, in all fairness, we're talking about ending the history of the world. Well, oh yeah, this should be pretty simple. Right? It should be very straightforward. I'm right.
Right. So the avoda, what the Rebbe said, the avoda of the world of Biurim, that's done.
That's
said
done.
that.
Yeah.
Personally, we all still have our own work we can do on ourselves. But
Right.
that does not going to affect Mashiach. But the Rebbe said, well, all we have to do is open our eyes and see.
Right, that's our Avodah for Mashiach is that, not our own particular Yiddishkeit.
Whatever that means.
Right, whatever that means. And obviously, Yiddishkeit is important. Obviously, you have to do Torah and mitzvahs, and obviously that helps, etc. But we still say when we put tefillin on someone, help bring Mashiach, we put tefillin on, okay, Seder. But that'll be more when we say that to that person to get him to put on tefillin. That's important for him. He should put on tefillin. You care about him? Put tefillin on his arm. It's good for him, right? If he's hungry, you give him food. He's hungry. He has to put on tefillin. Okay. But when you say to him, help bring Mashiach, put on tefillin, so you're doing two things at once. Mitzvah Mashiach and Mitzvah tefillin. Mitzvah Mashiach is getting him with the consciousness of Mashiach, which is Kabbalah's Pnei Mashiach Zikena. You didn't have to put Mashiach is what it's about. Right? Which has been relatively successful in this country. Mm-hmm. The Jews in this country are pretty Mashiach oriented. They think about it. It's on the news. It's on the news.
Well,
the non-religious people. It's on the news. They talk about it.
People in the U.S. are traumatized, probably.
Yeah, it's not. It just doesn't. It hasn't penetrated into the consciousness of most Jews in whose lives it's just not. I mean, it might be that who knows. This what's happening now might very much be plowing the ground to plant the seeds. Who knows? I mean, who knows? But my wife was just listening last night to yesterday, evidently. I guess it was yesterday. I don't know. You can never tell when you hear these things. But it sounded like it was happening then. A bunch of college students speaking to Congress about what's going on in their college campuses, Jewish colleges.
students, or they had the presidents of a bunch of these
No, no, no. Oh, they had the presidents there was a woman there were a bunch of,
They
the
tore
new
one of them
speaker of the
up.
House got these Jewish students together for an affair that they should talk. The first person my wife was listening to this last night, but my father's yahrzeit is in 2 weeks, and I had to make sure that I'm finishing my Masechta, so I was busy, but I had an ear open to this. So the first a congresswoman was speaking and said, "This is an incredibly important thing. I'd like to thank the speaker. That was blah 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 blah. I'm going now to Congress because we're going to grill the presidents. They're coming to see us, and we want to know what they've been doing, and what they haven't been doing, and why not." Here, you're going to hear the students talk about it, and it was hair raising. What these students would describe, absolutely hair raising. It was absolutely hair raising. What they were experiencing on campus. There was a kid from Penn, a law student in Harvard. Talking about the fact that it's an everyday occurrence that people say, "Gas the Jews. Hitler was right." This is what they're experiencing on campus. Just
Campus is not the same place as it was 4 months ago.
Wow. But look, are the Jews going to be smart enough to realize maybe this is the last place I should ever send my kid? Excuse the muscle, but I'll quote a Hollywood, Broadway director, producer, I don't know, some Jewish guy who's ever big on Broadway and didn't recognize his name. I don't know anything about Broadway. I apologize. So, I don't apologize. He was interviewed on American television, and he said, "Well, isn't it about time that Jewish parents stop sending their children to these schools?" And then he gave an unbelievable mushroom. He said, "Why do they send to these schools? Because it's for all intents and purposes infinite, meaning it can express itself in an infinite amount of colors. The light as it is right here, in this space. As it hits this, what happens? This kli brings about a particular expression of light, blue. So it reveals a specific aspect of light, that light contains blue, and it conceals all other aspects of light, which for all intents and purposes, infinite. It's an infinite amount of color that light could express itself as. But this limits that in a very, very powerful way to one color, blue, this shade of blue. That's what's happening here. What's happening over here? Well, it hasn't hit anything yet, so still infinite over here, so to speak. Still infinite over here and over here and over here. It's going to hit a yellow wall over there, so it'll reveal yellow over there, right? Now, so how do I know that the power of blue exists in light? Well, if the power of blue didn't exist in light, this wouldn't look like this, would it? If I were in a laboratory and the scientists running the laboratory were to block all the blue photons, so then this would be gray. I would not experience blue. I would experience gray. Right? Okay. This thing is absorbing all of the color, and so it's not reflecting any color. This thing's reflecting blue and absorbing all the others. This thing is absorbing all of them. This thing is reflecting all of them. So there's no color in this, and there's no color in this. Right? This thing is very unique. But this is just a mushal for any kli. What's it doing? Revealing a certain aspect of infinite reality. Now, obviously, the light isn't infinite be'etzem, right? But in terms of its ability to express itself in color, it's for all intents and purposes infinite. Basically, no limitation. Just add another drop of white, you'll get a slightly different color. Add another drop of black, you'll get a slightly different color. Shade of the same color. So that's the yichud of Seviv and Mamali, which is what Eilam Hazeh is all about. In the Mamali, we're trying to connect the Mamali to its source in Seviv. And what allows us to do that? A level beyond both. Atzmus, which is beyond infinite, beyond finite. V'yesh lemer ta'al yedei Avedis Abirurim b'shnei eifonim, that through the Avedis Abirurim in these two different ways, b'derech milamayla lamata, b'derech milamata lamayla, from above below and below above, both levels of Aveda are necessary. But if we do those properly, then they both contain within them the advantage of the other. Uba'ifin shekol echad mihem kalul mishneim, in a way in which they're both incorporating both of them, which is what this mimer is all about. The end of the mimer. Al Yedei Zeh Yichud the Sev Mamalu B'Shnei Efonim. By virtue of this, the unity of Sev and Mamali is in two ways. Not the usually what happens that if Seviv is revealed in Mamale, it's Mevatel Mamale. Right? If infinite reality is revealed, so then finite reality goes out of existence. That's the nature of it. No, but what if I can bring about a revelation of infinite in finite, and finite can maintain its existence and be a cleave for the infinite? Well, how can that be? That's completely unnatural. You're right. It's unnatural mitzad the infinite. It's also unnatural mitzad the finite. But if I can touch a place beyond both of them and bring about a revelation of that place, so then those two things can exist in harmony. That's Torah and mitzvahs. That's what it's all about. Because they're sourced in Atzmos. The drawing down of Seviv in Mamale, which usually is Mavatal, the Mamale, and Halos Mamale Seviv, and the elevation of Mamale up to Seviv, but then there's still an existence of the Mamale, in terms of its own Teva, so to speak. In such a way, that there's the bittul and the transformation. The transformation is complete, and the bittul is complete. And that brings about ishafcha through the avodah from below. Therefore, based on this, we can explain hashaychus the inyan zeh Yaakov dafka. How's the shaykh to Yaakov specifically? Yaakov is the one who's talking about this. Ki skalus, the incorporation, the shnei oifanim of these two different aspects. Shebavodah sabirurim, the avodah birurim. That in each of them there are the two advantages, the advantage of bittul from above and the advantage of incorporation below. This is through the revelation of the notion of yechida, which is l'mayla mi'agbala, completely beyond any notion of limitation whatsoever, which is what this whole mimer is about. And this is should be Yaakov Nemar. What does it say about Yaakov? Ufaratz the Yom Avakeno. It's found in the complete and total expression beyond limitation. Nachla bli meitzarim, the inheritance without any limitation. That's Yaakov. Hu lefisha haya bay gilu yechida. That's because there was in Yaakov gilu yechida. Right? Who's the nasi? The Rabbi doesn't bring it here. Does he bring it? I don't think he does. No. The Rabbi doesn't bring it here. But what is we always talk about the nasi? Who's the nasi? The nasi of each generation. Nitzeitz shel Yaakov Avinu. I see as nasi. The spark of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov is the one who was kailel all of the keiches of Avram and all the keiches of Yitzchak. Avram is milamayla lamata. Yitzchak is milamata lamayla. V'hina yadua the Shechina bechinas Malchus. Shechina is Malchus, which is immanent godly reality, that aspect of godliness that descends down into the world and gives vitality to the world. Ad kedei kach that it says about Malchus, Ragleha yordois mavis, her legs descend into death. Meaning Malchus is that aspect of Elokus responsible for physical reality, which can be completely contrary to Elokus. Can be, doesn't have to be. HaKeilela says Kol Nishmas Yisrael, included in Malchus are all of the neshamas of the Jewish people. All of the Yidden are princes. They're shaykh to Malchus. Based on this, we could say the beyichud kuchabrichu shchinte, to the unity of Seviv and Mamale, kuchabrichu and shchinte, which is the meditation that we say before Baruch Shamar. There are people who say that meditation before every mitzvah. We say it once before Baruch Shamar, that's shaykh to every mitzvah we're going to do in the day. L'shem yichud kuchabrichu shchinte liach b'shem yudke v'vavke, right? That. Valpiza yesh lemer the beyichud kuchabrichu shchinte nichlal. It's incorporated gama yichud the Kadosh Baruch of Yisrael. It also includes the unity, not simply of these two different levels of godly reality, but of Kadosh Baruch Hu and the Jewish people. The Shleimish Shel Yichud, the ultimate notion of unity, Keshehu B'Shnei Oifanim, when it's in two different fashions. Hamshacha, drawing down from above below, Va'alo, elevating from below above. Yesh lemer, the Mihatayim Alzer, one of the reasons, She'inyan and Nisuyan, the Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, that the marriage of HaKadosh Baruch in Yisrael, the betrothal of HaKadosh Baruch in Yisrael, that was Matan Torah. And the suyin of HaKadosh Baruch in Yisrael, that's Yemei Mashiach, that marriage Yeh losid lave will be in the future. Ki az yegilu yechida al yedei Mashiach. Then there'll be a revelation of Yechida through Mashiach. Bechinas Yechida Klolis. The Mashiach is the general Yechida, which is the source of every particular Yechida, meaning the source of any Jew's Yechida Shebenefesh is the Yechida Shebenefesh of Mashiach. Amitas inyan ufaratzta, the ultimate expression of ufaratzta, al yadeshi yala haperetz lifanenu, the one who bursts out will be in front of us. Right? Where does he come from? The Mashiach Peretz. Bekarav Mamish is happening very soon. Okay. I thought we were going to have time to start the next mimer. We'll start tomorrow morning. Okay, but I'll give you the mimer now, just so you can. Okay, now, if we have time, I'm not going to do it now. Maybe tomorrow we'll also spend some time just doing a general review of the three parts of the mimer we just learned. And then we'll start the Hanukkah mimer.
Okay.
Okay.